And welcome back. 7:32 a.m. It is still Thursday morning. I just had one Bloody Mary. Call that my liquid breakfast. I was totally down to get two, but I realized that I deposited most of the cash that I had in my pocket yesterday morning into two of my bank accounts, and didn't have that much cash on me, so just enough for one. And the last thing I need to be doing is running up a bar tab on a credit card this morning, especially at that place, since they charge a surcharge for using a card. I think it's only $1, but I'm just not about dollar surcharges to use a card someplace. I mean, usually it's not an issue. Usually I got enough cash on me, but I just don't today, which is fine. I feel like day drinking. I think today's a good. I got a wee bit of a head change from the one drink, and I think today's a good day since I didn't wake up until after 2 a.m. Today's probably a good day to go home and set up my computer, work on music a little bit, maybe try to do a little bit of cleaning. Yeah, right, as if I'm going to do some cleaning. See what all I've acquired in the last month or so in terms of adult beverages from the discount bin at the various Circle K's that I go to. And maybe I'll even get ambitious and write that email to Circle K corporate regarding them routinely overcharging me and not honoring sales that they post within their stores. I still don't know about the Bugles thing today. It seems possible that sale that was valid yesterday ended today, but I don't know. It just seems like normally the Circle K sales cycle is different at the beginning of a month. Although I know the Bugles thing was last month, and I was kind of surprised at the beginning of December that it was continuing. So maybe it's based on days of the week. But Thursday seems like an odd day for a sale to end. That dude nearly turned left right into me. What an a-hole. There's a construction moving along nicely at Costco on the new gas thing. Just driving by it right now, and it just made me think. Yesterday, as I was headed to the Chase Bank, I went to Chase Bank up ahead here in the shopping center, and also went to that's quite the blind corner on the right. Wow, I saw a white Kia. I was thinking that was Priscilla for a moment, but it's got an intact bumper. It looks to be like a newer model anyway. Awfully similar to her SUV though. I did text her back maybe about an hour ago, but she hasn't responded yet. Anyway, apparently she says she's been feeling not good this week, so maybe I should be more supportive of her when she's sick, but whatever. 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 As long as she wants to act jealous about me being physically intimate with other women and isn't physically intimate with me to the point that I'm frustrated about that. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be there for her when she's sick. That kind of is what it is. Oh, have I got this in my videos lately at all? I don't know that I have. This has been here for a little while. I don't know, maybe about 2 months. Yeah, charging stations for electric vehicles on the back end of the Fry's parking lot. Not gonna lie, there's a part of me that would really, really love to have an electric vehicle, and I think the way kind of my lifestyle is, I think an electric vehicle would actually work for me really well. But yeah, not a lot of money for that sort of thing. And on that note, I drive an electric vehicle all night, most nights. The forklifts that Amazon has are electric, so there's that. And I used to drive an electric scooter quite frequently. Of course, it's been about a year now, actually a little over a year. It was, I think, Thanksgiving. Seems like it was around Thanksgiving when my last scooter, my Ninebot, after 3 glorious days, stopped working. I really do need to find the time to get another working electric scooter. That is definitely not on the agenda for today, but it's something I really should try to find the time for. But yeah, I'd love to make a little, not a bumper sticker. I'm not so fond of stickers on the bumper. Although I got nothing to lose with this car's bumper, because this car's bumper is trash since I was in that hit and run about a year and a half ago. But I'd rather get like a stenciled window sticker. You know what I mean? Like the kind that's just where it's cut out and you lay it out. It's stenciled. I don't know how to better explain that. But I would love to get one custom made that says, my other vehicles are electric, with like a stylized forklift on one side and a stylized electric scooter on the other side. But yeah, I do think about getting an electric car from time to time. Although I really feel like with the push towards electric vehicles, high efficiency hybrids are kind of being overlooked. I mean, the most common of which is a Prius, and those are still reasonably popular. I've never owned a Prius, but I've rented many Priuses over the years, and I always enjoy driving them when I rent them. And then, of course, the last taxi I had for the whopping 3.5, 4 days before I totaled it, and quickly became not a cab driver again, was also a Prius. And I've driven Toyota Priuses enough that I know how you set the display to where it shows you the distribution of energy, where you can kind of monitor that and adjust your driving habits to control that to where you can get remarkably high mileage in it. I mean, yeah, if you're driving an all-electric vehicle, you're going to have no, you're not going to use any gas at all, but it is a really good feeling when you spend a day driving a Toyota Prius and you pay attention to the little energy distribution grid, and at the end of the day when you park it, it tells you that you averaged 68 miles per gallon that day. That's a pretty good feeling. And yeah, I've whenever I drive a Prius, I get remarkably high mileage on them, because there are things you can do when you're driving, and it's hard to explain like what those things are, but the key is to setting up your dashboard so you can see how it's distributing energy, and then kind of adjusting your driving to match that. And sometimes that actually involves like sort of a jackrabbit start from a green light, just accelerating quickly and then quickly going into coasting, as opposed to slowly accelerating. But then the other times it's about slowly accelerating. Well, someday maybe I'll own one and I can do some videos explaining how that shit works. But I know I've figured it out enough that when I've rented them, I get remarkably good mileage when I drive them. Very rare that I spend a day driving a Toyota Prius and don't get less than 50 to the gallon in it. And I mentioned before, kind of one of my dream cars is a first generation Honda Insight, which is very stylistically similar to the Honda CRX. And yeah, I would love to get one of those. Of course, at this point, any first generation Honda Insight is probably either very pricey because somebody's upgraded the batteries on it, or it's only running off its little 3-cylinder gas motor and the batteries are just shot. But that's a project I'd like to take on someday, maybe. Anyway, yeah, no response to Priscilla. I'm not sure what's up with her. I don't know if she's just going to work or just sleeping or sick. I mean, to be fair, as much as she's not been there for me this week, I've not been there for her. So there's that. In fact, she's probably, it's fair to say she's been there more for me than I have been for her, because she did show up my place. I don't think I mentioned this in my last couple of videos. I don't think I've mentioned this at all. She showed up at my place right as I was getting ready to go to work. Day before yesterday. So it's, what day is it? It's confusing when you work night shift, but Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, right as I was getting ready to head out my place, she showed up Tuesday night and brought me a kind of a insulated lunchbox sort of thing full of food that she prepared for me, which was really, really nice. Although, to be honest, more than food, I would have really rather had a quickie. Priscilla doesn't seem to be about the quickies these days, but my first fiance was all about that, and I find myself missing her often. Her name was Tracy Bates. I know she's changed her last name since then, because she ended up marrying the dude that she was cheating on when she was with me, and ultimately left me for. That hurts. That hurts. Just thinking about that hurts. But yeah, since the internet has become such and social media has become such an all-powerful thing, I've looked for her many times online and have just had no success in finding Tracy Bates on Google. No success at all. And it would help if I knew what the last name was of the dude that she cheated on me with and left me for. It was a porn store clerk. Ain't that some shit? Yeah, he was the porn store clerk at the porno store that was located next to the bar she was bartending at. Oh, God, that's a painful story. I don't want to relive that. That was awful. And I'm pining for her. What the fuck is wrong with me? I am not a simp like that. Where is my head? Anyway, she was all about the quickie. And I missed that. I liked that. In fact, back in the days of pagers, I don't know how many people really actually watch this channel. It's not many. But most of my videos get about, 30 views-ish. But back in the 1990s, most people didn't have cell phones and used pagers, where you would basically dial it and hit a touch tone thing to leave a string of numbers on the pager. And of course, the general idea was you key in your phone number and then somebody would call it. But yeah, when just random numbers show up on your pager, you're just like, who the fuck is this? Do I have time to call this person? Do I want to call this person? So, and granted, most people were calling from landline phones, not cell phones. So phone numbers were not as associated with people as they are today, but more rather with places. So it wasn't unusual for somebody that you knew to send you a page from not their phone number, like if they were, at a friend's house, parent's house, whatever one you'd call them. So what was a common thing back in the era of digital pagers, I had a non-digital pager before my digital pager, but that's a more confusing thing. I don't even want to sidetrack with that. I need to go in the grocery store and get cat food. My cats are very angry that I let them run out of wet food completely. And hopefully they have a different flavor of the Friskies in stock, because I know some of the ones I had they were not too fond of this time around. Anyway, so yeah, the way the digital pagers worked, you put in a string of numbers, but you didn't necessarily have to be the 7 digits or later 10 digits phone number you wanted to call back. You could always add You could always add the star or the pound sign. I think. God, it's been so long. Forget how that worked. Does anybody still have that service? Does that service still exists these days? I don't think so. But the other thing was a lot of people would put in the phone number and then add a star and a 911 at the end of it, just to signify, hey, this is an emergency. Call me in a hurry. Which, of course, people started abusing that. So when it said 911, it was like, yeah, that's not a code I honor. You need to call 911, call 911. Don't call me. What do you need a cab driver for? 911. It don't work like that. Call an ambulance. But most people I knew would have a number that they would add, usually a 2-digit number that they would add when they would text somebody to let that somebody know that, hey, this is me and this is the number I need you to call me at. And my girlfriend Tracy, the number that she always stuck at the end of hers to let me know that it was her wanting me to call her back was the number 2. And the origin of the number 2 in those text messages, or in those, those digital pages, the origin of the number 2 was how many minutes we needed to have sex for us both to be completely satisfied. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't always a 2-minute deal with her, but if we made the effort, we could both climax within 2 minutes. We timed it. We accomplished that many, many times. And that was one thing that kept our relationship strong when it was strong, is when I was busy and I'd get home and I didn't have much time, and before I needed to head out and do other, pick up other fares when I had my cab company, Express Cab, or sometimes like I would get home, but she would be getting ready for work and she'd have to head to whatever job she had. When she first moved in with me, she was working for Montgomery Wards, and then later she was working at a few different bars as a bartender. She went to bartending school. I find that to be an interesting thing. Anyway, I'd get home, from doing some cab runs, and she'd be getting ready for work. And it's like, you got 2 minutes? I got 2 minutes. And we would both have, just satisfy each other quite nicely in those 2 minutes if needed. Anyway, just throwing that out there. I wish Priscilla was about making those 2 minutes happen from time to time, because I know our schedules are very opposite each other, and it's not an easy thing, especially since I've booted her out of my place. But yeah, had she been about, when she showed up at my place as I was getting ready to go to work, had she been about those kind of 2 minutes rather than just bringing me food and checking on my cats, I'd probably be in a much better headspace right now. Yes, I'm back. 7:59 a.m. Wow, I just realized that at this point I've spent more time just screwing around and stuff after work than I actually spent at work. So, kind of weird just going in and working like a little over 2 hours and calling it a day. It was a nice distraction though, especially since I was in a different section today. As I mentioned earlier, I was in I just went directly to inbound as opposed to going to outbound, since I was over 8 hours late showing up to work. Oh, by the way, just finished up at Fry's. Got a box of the Friskies wet food, the one labeled indoor. I don't know if they like that one better or not. I don't know. It's all the same. And lately, I don't know if it's supply chain issues or whatever, but they don't always have a big selection of, like, they don't usually have every different option. You just gotta choose from what they have in stock. So got the 24 pack. I don't even know how much money it saves me buying that in bulk. I just don't like having to go to the store to grab cat food very often. So yeah, so I got that. And now, granted, I just went to Fry's yesterday morning, so not like I have need of much. I just didn't realize they were that low on food, or I'd have got that yesterday morning. But I do always, whenever I go to Fry's, oh, well, look at that. The stoplight directly ahead of me, the red light is burned out. So there is no light lit up. It's just darkness. Fortunately, there's the ones to the right and the left, and I can see it's a red light. Hopefully Phoenix gets around to fixing that soon. Anyway, I always try to go by the bakery clearance aisle and the regular clearance section. Now, I went through the regular clearance section yesterday, and as I mentioned before, I got 2 items for free. I got a thing of $3 for a thing of Duracell button batteries that are normally like $6 or $7. So yeah, $3 would have been a great deal, and then her not ringing them up was an even better deal. Now I did not check those particular batteries to see if they were the ones that I need. The only thing I have that uses button batteries is I have an Amazon flashlight on my keychain, and yeah, that thing. Yeah, I was thinking I was going to go to my storage to drop off recycling, but I don't have enough in my car to really justify the trip all the way over there. So forget that noise. It's time to just make a U-turn here. There's like some recycling on the floorboard of the passenger side, but not really enough to justify the drive there. Which, at home, I probably got enough to fill a couple boxes of recycling. That's not on the agenda. I'm done with it. Although it is after 7, so I could. It's an option right now. Oh damn! The glare of the sun is bright. Yikes. So yeah, I did buy the clearance aisle. The other thing I got that they forgot to ring me up on was like a bag, like a rather large bag of a dried fruit blend, dried cranberries, and I forget what the other 3 that were mixed in with it. Ocean Spray brand. And every now and then I'll get the Ocean Spray dried cranberries that they call them craisins, and I like those. I like those a lot. I just don't get them very often because they tend to be kind of pricey. But every now and then if I see those in clearance aisle, I'm all over them. But this was like a blend, and I forget what all was in it, but it sounded really good. It was a great big bag for. Actually, I don't think that was $2.99. I think that one was $1.49. Whatever it was like a big bag of dried fruit, which is a good healthy snack for very little. And then yeah, cashier didn't ring that up either. She just put that in my bag. So yeah, bonus. Yeah, nothing. I went there. They did actually add some stuff that wasn't there yesterday, but it was nothing I was in any need of. They did have some surge protectors that were pretty nice, like outlet strip surge protectors, but yeah, $7 is just not enough for me to want to get another one.
Hi, welcome to Sonic. What can I start for you today?
I just want to get a Southwest breakfast burrito with salsa verde.
Okay, is that going to be it for you?
Yep, that's it.
Would you like a napkin with your order?
No, but could you please put it in a bag?
Okay, you said it's going to be $3.52.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yesterday they didn't. I told them no about the napkin because I got plenty of napkins, and they just handed it to me and didn't put it in a bag. Which, fortunately, I'd gone to Circle K. I put it in the Circle K bag, but it was still kind of awkward.
Good morning. We have
Morning.
Southwest.
Yeah.
It's $3.52. Do you need the receipt with you?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, $7 is more than I'm down to pay for an outlet strip with a surge protector in it. Now, had that thing been like $1.99, I'd have been all over it. I don't even need one right now. That's something I'm gonna grab if it's $2. $2.99, and I had to think about it. But I'm paying $6 or $7, whatever the hell they were asking for. It was more than I wanted to spend on a surge protector I don't need. And I went to the bakery clearance aisle, and a whole bunch of pumpkin pies, and you can tell they've been sitting on the shelf a little too long. They're sinking in a little bit, but they're still good. Yeah, they had a buttload of pumpkin pies for $1 a pop. I only grabbed one. I think if I was to get more than one, by the time I get around to eating the second one, it would not be good anymore. But I grabbed one. A pumpkin pie for $1. Yeah, I'm all over that. I like pumpkin pie all year long. It doesn't have to be a seasonal thing for me. Kind of like tacos. I don't just eat tacos on Tuesday. I firmly believe tacos is a suitable meal option every day of the week. In fact, that's one of those things I'd be happy eating literally every day, and it would take months for me to get burned out on. I'm more likely to be monogamous to tacos than I am to any woman. Throwing that out there. Anyway, on that note, I'm about home. As I keep, this is disappointing. So I keep thinking about how nice it would be to spend 2 minutes with Tracy Bates. I was thinking about grabbing this chair here. I know, I grabbed way too much trash. It's got a little bit of damage to it on the armrest, but for the most part, and you can't really tell what's going on with it because somebody's flipped it upside down. But it's just kind of a neat little red chair that kind of caresses you on all angles. But apparently somebody well, I can't say stole, it's already garbage, but somebody took the base off of it and left the chair, which is sad because now the chair is garbage, just straight garbage. And the base was metal, so I'm sure whoever grabbed that is doing it just to get the recycle value of the metal. But it was a neat chair. I was kind of thinking about grabbing it. Not that I have room for it right now, but it was a neat chair. Without the base, it's useless. That's a bummer. Oh well, at least the metal's getting recycled. I guess that's something that I should look at as a positive. I just hate to see that unique chair going to waste. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to mention, other than I keep thinking about how great it would be to spend 2 minutes with Tracy Bates. Yeah, that's about it. Interesting day at work. Interesting less than 2.5 hour day at work. I'm glad I made peace with the Mexican lady that I snapped at yesterday. Oh, and I mentioned that my start with the issues with the outbound water spiders, and this happened. It's been an all week long thing. Well, it wasn't Sunday night, but Monday night and Tuesday night, both those night shifts. Just getting really frustrated at their inability to tell the difference between TUL2 and TUC2. TUL going to Tulsa, TUC going to Tucson. And I think a lot of the people that work there just don't even make the connection of those labels as being going to actual places. Like, I don't even think they think about what city they're going to. I just think they look and see some letters and they see the TU and the number 2, and it's the same thing in their brains. And I wish I had the capacity to ignore details like that, but I don't. But yeah, I was getting so frustrated, particularly because I was working in the zone that was loading TUL2. And this one particular, when I got there, the shit that was left behind from day shift, which is off more often than it's not, there's always seems to be something wrong with when I get into a work zone for outbound for forklift. There always seems to be something wrong with how it was left from whoever worked before in day shift. Either the loading zones have the arcs mixed in the row. Each row is supposed to be up to 4 items going to the same place. And yeah, sometimes, more often than not, like one of the rows will be mixed, which will piss me off. Or they're just, or there's a discrepancy with the amount of items in a given trailer versus its written manifest, and I've got to sort that out. Or sometimes they leave me a real doozy where stuff is just simply loaded in an unsafe manner, and I've got to pull shit out and fix that. The most notable being, it was like week before last, or maybe the week before that, somebody had taken these pallets, these really heavy pallets of canned dog food, and stacked them and bound them together. Each of those pallets weighs about 1,200, 1,300 pounds. The rated capacity of our forklifts is 3,000 pounds. No, 2,000 pounds. 3,000 pounds? Now I forget. Anyway, they created a double pack of pallets that exceeded the weight limit for the forklift. Apparently nobody else seemed to realize that was a problem. Which also ends up, that's way too much shit to put in a truck. Just loading a truck of those heavy pallets, like you won't even be able to single stack and fill a full truck with those. They're so heavy. But anyway, so my frustration with them started with that I came in and my loading zones, which I was only loading Tulsa, the TUL2, and there were several pallets of TUC2 mixed in with them. Like, are these people really too stupid to see the difference between TUL2 and TUC2? So I had to basically get those out of my loading zone and take them somewhere else because they were in the way of the stuff I was trying to load for TUL2. And then there ended up being one, as I was in the process, after I got that all sorted out, and I got all the TUC2 out of my TUL2 loading zones, some water spider, and I didn't see who it was, or I had to call them out when they did it, loaded a pallet of totes, 4-stack pallet of totes. Into my TUL2 loading zone that was labeled TUC2. Which was like, Jesus Christ, like it's not just day shift, it's idiots on this shift too. At which point I walked out from my forklift to the front and grabbed a pallet jack and moved it out of the zone. And I want to say 4 different times during the duration of that shift, by 3 different people, it got moved back from where I put it into the loading zones. And so, yeah, by the last time it was happening, I'm like, no. And one person, I told her, it was the African chick, the Goonie Goo Goo chick. She's, I swear to God, I heard her say Goonie Goo Goo. The first couple times I was kind of like, oh no, that doesn't go there. It doesn't? No, it goes there. And it seems like every time she asks for stuff goes, she just seems completely clueless. I just don't think she speaks English good enough to be working that position. She just doesn't. I don't know where she could be with her language barrier issues, but it just seems like when the people who are doing the training speak English and explain how to do things in English, if you can't comprehend English, how are you supposed to understand what to do? If you can't follow directions in English because you don't understand English. Anyway, it's frustrating. But yeah, upon the 3rd time of her moving that, after I told her twice before, no, that doesn't belong here. That's not TUL2, it's TUC2. I was pretty angry when I went. So she stopped moving it. And then some other guy, I kind of went off at him. Again, it doesn't go there. And then everything they were bringing up that was marked TUL2, they were putting in the buffer area next to the one that I said that was marked TUC2 that I said didn't go there. Because apparently they still couldn't see why that one didn't go there. They're just like, oh, this guy doesn't want him in his loading zones. No, I don't want TUC2 in TUL2 loading zones. Can you not see the fucking difference between a C and an L? Because if you can't tell the difference between a C and an L, you're a big fucking L and you need to go work somewhere else. Anyway. So yeah, that the TUL-TUC2 issue went on directly affecting me on Monday night and Tuesday night, because both of those nights I was loading TUL2. Now, the next night I wasn't loading TUL2. I had a few different trucks that I loaded that night in the far loading zone. But the issue I had that night was I would specifically start, a lot of the water spiders just don't understand what can and cannot be stacked on each other. They just have no concept of it. So they'll put a row of 4 items into a loading zone, and maybe 2 of those 4 items I can stack together, but then the other 2 I can't stack together. So I end up having to put them back in the loading zone, unless there's something in an adjacent loading zone or in another loading zone I can stack with it. But sometimes I end up with stuff that is just brought up that I can't, it's brought up with stuff I can't stack with it. And so I put it back, and I'll deliberately put it back where I want it to start another line for that particular arc, for that particular destination. And this one chick, the Mexican chick, instead of finishing the lines with other stuff behind the lines, and I'm going as far as like on the pallet receive stuff, adding an extra label to it with big bold letters of where it's going, just so, because sometimes the PAX labels can be hard to see, or they can be facing in a direction where you can't see it when you're coming in. So I'm making great big labels where I'm writing what it is, whether it's BOI2 or JFK 8. I think I was doing JFK 8 as well that night. Not last night, the night before. Last night I didn't work in outbound. And instead of following with those rows, she was moving them to a different line, which is the one line I did not want JFK 8 in. Oh, it's the one closest to the door. Yes, and because it's the one closest to the door, it's adjacent to a wall where it's difficult, where it's physically impossible for me to maneuver my forklift against that wall and then put it at the door that's opposite that wall. Any of the other 2 doors put in that row, but don't put that in that row. Did you not notice I took it out of that row and put it somewhere else? Why you keep moving it fucking back there? Fucking stop it. And then she pushed back on it, which just pissed me off more. Anyway, her and I had a really nice conversation tonight. I noticed that everybody had stopped working for the night, and she was over there still working, and I'm like, hey, it's time to go home. I wish I knew her name. She's cute. She's generally friendly. I feel kind of bad that I snapped at her yesterday, but she couldn't give me an explanation as to why she was moving the stuff. She's like, I'm trying to make 2 rows. I'm like, well, there's an empty spot. You can make 1 row there, and there's a row that's already started. Both of those together equals 2. 1, 2. Uno, dos. In case she wasn't understanding the English. Anyway, fuck it. It's time to go in. It's time for me to chill. Feed the cats. I think I'm ready for another drink.